The morning sun peeked through the kitchen window as Kate Adams packed a small suitcase for her daughter. Lily was going to spend the weekend with Grandma Rose, and the 12-year-old could barely contain her excitement. She bounced around the kitchen, her blonde ponytail swinging with each step. "Do you think Grandma will make her special apple pie?" Lily asked, reaching for an apple from the fruit bowl on the counter. Kate smiled at her daughter's enthusiasm. "I'm sure she will. You know she always makes your favorites when you visit." She folded a blue sweater and placed it carefully in the suitcase. "Don't forget to take your asthma medication. I've packed an extra inhaler just in case." Lily rolled her eyes. "Mom, I haven't had an attack in months." "I know, sweetie, but better. Safe than sorry." Kate zipped up the suitcase and checked her watch. "We should get going. I told Grandma we'd be there by noon." The drive to Rose Miller's cottage took just over an hour. They left their suburban neighborhood and traveled through rolling farmland until they reached the small town of Oakwood. Rose's cottage sat on the edge of town, surrounded by tall oak trees and a garden that bloomed with colorful flowers in spring and summer. As they pulled into the gravel driveway, Lily spotted her grandmother waving from the porch. Rose was a small woman with silver hair and bright blue eyes that crinkled when she smiled. Despite being 73 years old, she moved with the energy of someone much younger. "There's my favorite girl," Rose called out as Lily jumped from the car and ran up the porch steps. She wrapped her arms around her grandmother, breathing in the familiar scent of rosewater perfume and fresh-baked bread. Kate followed more slowly, carrying Lily's suitcase and a bag of groceries she had brought. She watched her mother and daughter embrace with a smile, but there was a small knot of worry in her stomach. Rose had called last week complaining of dizzy spells, but when Kate suggested postponing Lily's visit, Rose had insisted she was fine. "Mom, you look well," Kate said, giving her mother a hug. "How have you been feeling?" Rose waved a hand dismissively. "Oh, stop fussing. I'm right as rain. That doctor of mine adjusted my blood pressure medicine, and I haven't had a dizzy spell in days." "Are you sure? We could always reschedule if you're not up to having a ball of energy around for the weekend." Kate nodded toward Lily, who was already exploring the porch, peering at a bird's nest in the corner. "Nonsense," Rose said firmly. "Having Lily here will be good for me. Now come inside. I've made lemonade." The cottage was small but cozy, with rooms filled with books, handmade quilts, and photographs spanning generations. The kitchen smelled of cinnamon and apples. Rose had indeed been baking a pie. Lily immediately noticed and gave her grandmother a knowing smile. Kate placed the grocery bag on the counter and began unpacking. "I brought some extra things I thought you might need. There's milk, eggs, that cereal Lily likes, and some fresh vegetables from the farmer's market." "You didn't have to do that," Rose said, but she looked pleased as she helped put away the groceries. "I also brought Lily's medication schedule," Kate continued, pulling a folded paper from her purse. "Her inhaler is in the front pocket of her suitcase, and I packed an extra one just in case." Rose took the paper with a patient smile. "Kate, dear, I raised you, remember? I think I can handle looking after my granddaughter for 2 days." Kate sighed. "I know, Mom. I just worry." "Too much, if you ask me," Rose said, patting her daughter's hand. "Now why don't you sit down and have some lemonade before you head back? Lily, come show your mother the photo album I found in the attic. It has pictures from when she was your age." Lily eagerly pulled a large, leather-bound album from the bookshelf and set it on the kitchen table. The three of them sat together, laughing at photos of Kate with braces and awkward bangs wearing the neon colors that were popular in the 1990s. "I can't believe you wore your hair like that," Lily giggled, pointing to a particularly unfortunate school photo. "It was the style back then." Kate defended herself, but she was laughing too. The hour passed quickly, and soon it was time for Kate to leave if she wanted to make it home before dark. She stood reluctantly, gathering her purse and car keys. "You have my number, and I wrote down Dad's work number too, just in case," Kate said, hovering by the door. "We'll be fine," Rose assured her. "Won't we, Lily?" Lily nodded enthusiastically. "Don't worry, Mom. I'll take care of Grandma." Kate smiled at her daughter's earnest face. "I'm sure you will, sweetheart." She knelt down to give Lily a hug. Be good for Grandma, okay? And call me tonight before bed. I will, Lily promised, returning the hug before skipping back to the kitchen, already asking her grandmother if they could bake cookies. Rose walked Kate to her car. She'll be fine, you know. We both will. I know, Kate said, but the knot of worry was still there. It's just, you live out here all alone, and after Dad died, she trailed off, not wanting to voice her concerns too directly. Rose's expression softened. I know you worry, dear, but I've lived in this house for 40 years and I'm not about to leave because I'm getting older. I have my friends in town and Mrs. Peterson next door checks on me every day. Kate nodded, glancing at the neighboring house where the elderly Mrs. Peterson lived. The house on the other side of Rose's property had been empty for months since the previous owners moved away. Has anyone bought the old Wilkins place yet? She asked. Not that I've heard, Rose replied. There was someone looking at it last week, a man in a blue car. He was taking pictures of the property. Probably a real estate agent, Kate said. She gave her mother one last hug. Call me if you need anything, okay? Anything at all. We'll be just fine, Rose repeated. Now go on home and enjoy your quiet weekend. Read a book, take a bath, do whatever it is young mothers do when they get a break. Kate laughed. Sleep mostly. She got into her car and waved as she backed out of the driveway. In her rearview mirror, she could see Lily and Rose standing on the porch, waving back. They looked happy together, and Kate told herself there was nothing to worry about. As she turned onto the main road, she didn't notice the blue sedan parked half hidden among the trees a short distance from her mother's driveway. Nor did she see the man inside, watching through binoculars as she drove away. Back at the cottage, Rose and Lily went inside to finish their lemonade and plan their weekend activities. What should we do first? Rose asked, refilling Lily's glass. Can we finish baking the pie? Lily asked eagerly. Of course, Rose smiled. And then I thought we might take a walk down to the creek. The wild blackberries might be ripe enough to pick. And can we look at more old pictures? Lily asked. I want to see more embarrassing photos of Mom. Rose laughed. I have plenty of those. But first, pie. They spent the afternoon in the kitchen, Lily carefully crimping the edges of the pie crust the way Rose showed her. Neither of them noticed when the blue car drove slowly past the house, nor did they hear the sound of a camera clicking as the driver took photos of the property. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the garden, Rose felt a sudden chill despite the warm evening. She looked out the kitchen window toward the empty Wilkins house and thought she saw movement in the trees that separated the properties. Probably just a deer, she told herself, turning away from the window to help Lily set the table for dinner. The pie cooled on the windowsill, its sweet scent filling the cottage with warmth and comfort. But outside, something was watching and waiting in the gathering darkness. Rose and Lily sat in the living room after dinner, looking through old photo albums. The windows were dark now, reflecting their images back at them as they laughed over memories captured in faded photographs. Lily was especially interested in the pictures of her mother as a teenager. Mom really had that haircut. Lily giggled, pointing to a school photo of Kate with a short, spiky hairstyle. She certainly did, Rose smiled, touching the picture gently. Your mother went through a rebellious phase. She cut her hair herself with kitchen scissors. I was so upset at the time, but now it just makes me laugh. Lily turned the page, finding more pictures of her mother and her friends at a high school. Aunts. Who's that boy with Mom? She asked, pointing to a tall young man with his arm around teenage Kate. That was Peter Collins, Rose said. Your mother's first boyfriend. They dated for about 6 months during her junior year. Did she love him? Lily asked, suddenly curious about this part of her mother's life she had never heard about. Rose chuckled. She thought she did. When they broke up, she cried for days. But then she met your father in college, and that was real love. She closed the album and looked at the clock on the wall. My goodness, it's almost 10 o'clock. Well past your bedtime, young lady. Lily started to protest but couldn't hold back a yawn. Can we look at more pictures tomorrow? She asked. Of course, Rose promised. We have all weekend. Now, off to bed with you. I've made up the guest room with fresh sheets. Lily hugged her grandmother and went upstairs to the small bedroom under the eaves. Rose had decorated it with quilts and stuffed animals, making it cozy and welcoming for her granddaughter's visits. Lily changed into her pajamas and brushed her teeth in the small bathroom across the hall. Before getting into bed, she remembered her promise to call her mother. Kate answered on the first ring, as if she had been waiting by the phone. Hi, sweetie. How's your visit going? It's great, Mom, Lily said, sitting on the edge of the bed. We baked a pie and looked at old pictures of you. Grandma showed me your weird haircut from high school. Kate groaned. I should have burned those photos years ago. Her voice softened. Are you having fun? Lots of fun, Lily assured her. Tomorrow we're going to pick blackberries by the creek. That sounds wonderful. Is Grandma feeling okay? She seems fine to me, Lily said. She made dinner and everything. We had chicken and mashed potatoes. Good, Kate said, the relief evident in her voice. Make sure you take your medicine in the morning, okay? I will, Lily promised, trying not to sound annoyed at her mother's reminder. I'm going to bed now. Grandma says it's past my bedtime. She's right. Sleep well, sweetie. I love you. Love you too, Mom. Lily ended the call and climbed into bed, pulling the quilt up to her chin. The room was dark except for a small nightlight in the corner. She could hear the old house settling, making creaking sounds that might have scared her if she wasn't. So tired. Within minutes, she was asleep. Downstairs, Rose locked the front and back doors, a habit she had developed since her husband died 3 years ago. She checked the windows in the kitchen and living room, making sure they were all secure. As she reached to pull the curtains closed in the living room, she noticed a light in the woods behind her property. It was probably nothing, she told herself. Maybe a camper or a hiker with a flashlight. But something about it made her uneasy. The light moved slightly, then disappeared. Rose stood at the window for several minutes, watching, but the light didn't return. She went through her nightly routine, washing her face and taking her medications. The dizzy spells she had mentioned to Kate had been more frequent lately, but she didn't want to worry her daughter. Besides, they weren't too bad, just a brief feeling of lightheadedness when she stood up too quickly. Rose got into bed and picked up her book, but she found it hard to concentrate. The light she had seen in the woods kept coming back to her mind. She had lived in this house for decades and knew all the normal sounds and sights of her property. That light wasn't normal. After reading the same page 3 times without absorbing any of it, she put the book down and turned off her bedside lamp. The bedroom was dark and quiet, but Rose lay awake, listening. The wind had picked up, making the branches of the old oak tree scrape against the side of the house. Just as she was finally drifting off to sleep, she heard a sound that made her eyes snap open. It was the distinct crunch of footsteps on the gravel path that led to her garden shed. Rose sat up in bed, her heart pounding. She slipped out of bed and went to the window, careful to stand to the side so she wouldn't be visible to anyone outside. At first, she couldn't see anything in the darkness. Then the clouds shifted, allowing moonlight to filter through, and she saw a figure moving near her garden shed. It was a man, tall and thin, trying the door of the shed. Rose's first instinct was to call the police, but her phone was charging in the kitchen. She would have to go downstairs to get it. Quietly, she put on her robe and slippers and opened her bedroom door. The hallway was dark, but she knew every inch of her home and didn't need a light to find her way. She paused at Lily's door, listening, to make sure her granddaughter was still asleep. She could hear Lily's soft, even breathing, and was relieved that the noise hadn't wakened her. Rose continued down the stairs, careful to avoid the third step that always creaked. In the kitchen, she found her phone and was about to dial 911 when she heard another sound, the back door handle turning. Someone was trying to get into her house. Rose froze, her finger hovering over the call button. Then the handle stopped moving. Whoever was outside must have realized the door was locked. Rose dialed 911 with shaking fingers. When the dispatcher answered, she kept her voice low. "There's someone trying to break into my house," she whispered. I'm alone with my granddaughter. What's your address, ma'am? The dispatcher asked. Rose gave her address and added, Please hurry. Officers are on their way, the dispatcher assured her. Stay on the line with me. Is there a safe place you can go until they arrive? I need to get to my granddaughter, Rose said. She's asleep upstairs. If you can safely go to her, do that and lock the door, the dispatcher advised. Rose was about to head back upstairs when she heard a sharp crack from the back porch. It sounded like someone had broken a window. Her blood ran cold. The intruder was trying to get in. Back at her own home, Kate was having trouble sleeping. She tossed and turned, unable to shake a feeling of unease. The house seemed too quiet without Lily. Finally, she got up and made herself a cup of tea, taking it to the living room where she curled up on the couch with a book. Her phone chimed with a text message. Odd, she thought, looking at the clock. It was nearly midnight. Who would be texting her so late? She picked up her phone and frowned at the screen. The message was from an unknown number. Your family is being watched. Kate stared at the text, a chill running down her spine. It had to be a wrong number or some kind of spam. She deleted the message and put her phone down, but the uneasy feeling grew stronger. Maybe she should call her mother, just to check on them. No, she was being silly. They would be asleep by now and she didn't want to wake them. She was just being overprotective, as her mother often accused her of being. Kate tried to focus on her book, but the words blurred on the page. After reading the same paragraph 4 times, she gave up and turned on the television, hoping the background noise would help her relax. Back at Rose's cottage, the situation was growing more dangerous. Rose could hear glass breaking and then the sound of the back door opening. Someone was in her house. She had to get to Lily. As quietly as she could, Rose made her way back up the stairs. She could hear footsteps in her kitchen now, someone moving slowly, carefully. The dispatcher was still on the line, asking questions that Rose was too afraid to answer aloud now. She reached Lily's door and slipped inside, closing it behind her. Lily was still asleep, unaware of the danger. Rose gently shook her granddaughter's shoulder. Lily, she whispered urgently. Wake up, sweetie. Lily's eyes fluttered open. Grandma, what's wrong? Shh. Rose put a finger to her lips. There's someone in the house. We need to be very quiet. Lily's eyes widened with fear, but she nodded, understanding the seriousness of the situation. Rose pulled her out of bed and led her to the closet. I need you to hide in here, she whispered. And call your mother. Tell her to send help. What about you? Lily asked, her voice trembling. I'll be right outside, Rose promised. I'm going to make sure they don't come upstairs. The sound of footsteps on the stairs made them both freeze. Someone was coming up, moving slowly in the darkness. Lily's hands shook as she took her grandmother's phone. She crouched in the back of the closet, hiding behind hanging clothes and trying to make herself as small as possible. The 911 dispatcher was still on the line, and Lily whispered into the phone. Hello? My grandma told me to hide. Someone's in our house. What's your name, sweetheart? The dispatcher asked calmly. Lily Adams. I'm at my grandma's house, Rose Miller. That's good, Lily. You're doing great. The police are on their way. They should be there in about 5 minutes. Can you stay hidden until then? Yes, Lily whispered. But my grandma went out there. I'm scared for her. Try to stay calm. The officers are coming as fast as they can, the dispatcher assured her. Lily ended the call with the dispatcher and quickly dialed her mother's number. She knew it by heart. The phone rang several times before Kate answered, her voice groggy. With sleep. Mom? Lily whispered, tears forming in her eyes. Lily, what's wrong? Why are you calling so late? Kate was instantly alert, sensing the fear in her daughter's voice. Someone's trying to get into the house, Lily said, her voice trembling. Grandma told me to hide in the closet and call you. She went to check the circuit breaker, but she hasn't come back. Oh my God. Are you safe right now? Kate asked, already getting out of bed and grabbing clothes. I'm hiding in the closet. The police are coming, but I'm scared. Lily tried to keep her voice low, but fear made it hard to whisper. Suddenly, Lily heard a crash from somewhere in the house, followed by a muffled scream. "Mom, I think something happened to Grandma," she whispered urgently. There was a loud thump, and then the phone lost connection. Lily stared at the dark screen in horror. She tried to call back, but there was no signal. She was alone in the dark closet, with no way to know what was happening outside. Lily hugged her knees to her chest, trying not to make any noise. She could hear footsteps in the bedroom now, someone moving around, opening drawers. The closet door had a small crack at the bottom, and she could see a beam of light moving around the room. Whoever was out there had a flashlight. The footsteps came closer to the closet. Lily held her breath, pressing herself against the back wall, trying to disappear among the hanging clothes. The doorknob turned slowly, and the closet door began to open. Meanwhile, Kate was frantically trying to call Lily back, but the call wouldn't go through. She dialed 911 next, her hands shaking so badly she had to try twice. "My daughter just called me from my mother's house," she told the dispatcher, her voice high with panic. "She said someone broke in. The call got disconnected. My mother is Rose Miller, and the address is 457 Pine Road in Oakwood." "Ma'am, we already have officers responding to that address," the dispatcher told her. "A call came in from that location a few minutes ago." "I need to go there," Kate said, grabbing her car keys. "My daughter is only 12 years old." "The officers should be arriving any minute," the dispatcher assured her. "It would be best if you wait for them to secure the scene." But Kate wasn't listening anymore. She ended the call and ran to her car, still wearing her pajama pants with a sweatshirt hastily pulled over her nightshirt. The drive to her mother's house would take an hour, but Kate was determined to make it in less. As she sped down the empty streets, her phone rang. She snatched it up, hoping it was Lily, but the screen showed her mother's number instead. Kate's heart nearly stopped. What if the intruder had found her mother's phone? What if he was calling to make demands? With a shaking hand, she answered the call. "Hello?" she said, her voice barely audible. Back at the cottage, the closet door swung open, and Lily pressed herself against the wall, certain she was about to be discovered. But instead of a stranger with a flashlight, it was her grandmother who peered into the closet, her face pale but determined. "Lily? Are you in there?" Rose whispered. "It's safe to come out now. The police are here." Lily tumbled out of the closet and into her grandmother's arms, sobbing with relief. "Grandma, I thought something bad happened to you. I heard a crash and a scream." Rose hugged her tightly. "That was me knocking over a lamp, and then I tripped over it. I'm so sorry I scared you, sweetheart." A police officer stood in the doorway of the bedroom, a tall woman with kind eyes and a reassuring smile. "You must be Lily," she said. "Your grandmother has been telling us about you. You were very brave to hide and call for help." Lily wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "Is the bad person gone?" "We didn't find anyone in the house," the officer said. "But there was definitely someone here. They broke a window in the back door. My partner is checking around the property now." "I need to call my mom," Lily said suddenly, remembering how their call had been cut off. "She's probably really worried." Rose nodded. "I tried to call her from my phone, but it wouldn't connect. The storm must have knocked out the cell tower." She looked at the officer. "Do you have a radio or phone that works? My daughter needs to know we're okay." The officer handed Rose her own cell phone. "You can use mine. It's on a different network, so it might work." Rose dialed Kate's number, and this time the call went through. Kate answered immediately, her voice tight with fear. "Kate, everything's okay now," Rose said, her voice steady but tired. "The sheriff is here. Someone tried to break in, but they ran away when they heard the police sirens." "Mom, is Lily okay?" Kate asked, her voice breaking. "She's fine. She's right here with me." Rose handed the phone to Lily. "Mom?" "I'm okay," Lily said, tears streaming down her face again. "Grandma's okay too. The police are here." "Thank God," Kate breathed. "I'm on my way. I'll be there as fast as I can. Please drive carefully, Rose said, taking the phone back. We're safe now. There's no need to rush and have an accident. After ending the call, Rose thanked the officer and returned her phone. The officer, whose name tag read Deputy Martinez, explained that they would have officers patrolling the area for the rest of the night. We found footprints in the garden, she said, and it looks like someone was camping in the woods behind your property. There was a small tent and some personal items left behind. Camping? Rose frowned. That's private property. No one should be camping there. We collected everything as evidence, Deputy Martinez assured her. Do you have any idea who might have done this? Anyone who has a grudge against you or has been acting strangely around you? Rose was about to say no when she remembered something. There was a man looking at the empty house next door last week. He was driving a blue car. I thought he was a real estate agent, but he seemed to be taking more photos of my property than the house for sale. The deputy made a note of this information. What did he look like? Tall, thin, maybe in his 40s, Rose said, trying to remember details. He had dark hair and was wearing sunglasses, so I couldn't see his eyes clearly. We'll look into it, Deputy Martinez promised. In the meantime, is there somewhere else you could stay tonight? A neighbor or friend, perhaps? Rose shook her head. My daughter is on her way. We'll wait for her. I'll stay with you until she arrives, the deputy said. My partner will continue searching the area. Lily, who had been quiet during this conversation, suddenly spoke up. I saw something today. I didn't tell you, Grandma, because I didn't think it was important. Both Rose and the deputy turned to look at her. What did you see, sweetheart? Rose asked. This morning I went for a walk in the woods behind the house. I found a place where someone had been staying. There were food wrappers and cigarette butts. I took pictures with my phone. Lily showed them the photos she had taken. The deputy looked at them with interest, especially when Lily pointed out a distinctive lighter with a logo on it that was visible in one of the pictures. That's good evidence, Deputy Martinez said. You have a sharp eye, young lady. Rose looked at the photos more closely and suddenly gasped. I know that lighter, she said. It belongs to Frank Daniels. He used to be my neighbor before the Wilkins family moved in. He always had that lighter with the eagle design. Frank Daniels? The deputy repeated, writing down the name. Why would he break into your house? Rose's face paled. There was an incident about 2 years ago. Frank was acting strangely, watching my house. I caught him looking in my windows one night. I reported him to the police, and he was warned to stay away. He blamed me when he lost his job a month later, said the police report made his employer fire him. He moved away after that. I haven't seen him since. Deputy Martinez radioed this information to her partner. We'll put out an alert for Frank. Daniels, do you know what kind of car he drives? It used to be a blue sedan, Rose said. I don't know if he still has the same car. Lily gasped. The blue car Mom saw. She said there was a blue car parked near the driveway when she dropped me off. The pieces were starting to fall into place, and Rose felt a chill run down her spine. Frank Daniels had been watching her house, waiting for the right moment, and he had chosen the weekend when her young granddaughter was visiting. Kate drove through the dark country roads with her hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly that her knuckles turned white. The hour-long drive to her mother's house felt like it was taking forever. Every minute that passed increased her anxiety. Even though she knew from her mother's call that Lily was safe, she wouldn't be able to relax until she saw her daughter with her own eyes. The roads were empty at this late hour, just past midnight. Rain had started to fall, making the pavement slick and visibility poor. Kate slowed down reluctantly on the curvy sections, reminding herself that an accident would only delay her arrival. As she drove, her mind raced with questions. Who had broken into her mother's house? Was it connected to the strange text message she had received? Your family is being watched. The word sent a chill down her spine even now. At the time, she had dismissed it as spam. But now she wondered if it had been a warning. Kate was so lost in her thoughts that she almost missed seeing the blue sedan parked on the side of the road about a mile from her mother's house. Something about it caught her attention, and she slowed down as she passed. The car was empty, its windows fogged up from the inside, suggesting it had been there for some time. A blue sedan. Hadn't her mother mentioned something about a man in a blue car looking at the house next door? Kate made a mental note to tell the police about the car when she arrived. Back at Rose's cottage, Deputy Martinez had made coffee for Rose and hot chocolate for Lily. They sat at the kitchen table, the broken window in the back door now covered with a piece of plywood that the deputy's partner had found in Rose's garden shed. "My partner is still patrolling the area," Deputy Martinez explained, sipping her coffee. "We've put out an alert for Frank Daniels. If he's still in the area, we'll find him." Lily wrapped her hands around her mug of hot chocolate, still feeling shaky from the night's events. "Why would Mr. Daniels want to hurt Grandma?" she asked. Rose sighed, reaching over to pat Lily's hand. "I don't think he wanted to hurt me, sweetheart. Frank has problems. He lost his job and his home, and he blamed me because I reported him for suspicious behavior. Some people find it easier to blame others for their troubles than to take responsibility for their own actions. But breaking into someone's house is wrong," Lily said firmly. "Yes, it is," Deputy Martinez agreed. "And Mr. Daniels will face consequences for his actions tonight." The sound of a car pulling into the driveway made them all turn toward the front of the house. Deputy Martinez stood up, her hand moving to her gun. "Stay here," she said to Rose and Lily, moving toward the front door. Rose ignored this instruction and followed the deputy, with Lily close behind her. They watched through the front window as headlights illuminated the driveway. "It's Mom!" Lily exclaimed, recognizing her mother's car. She ran to the door, ready to fling it open. "Wait," Deputy Martinez cautioned, holding out her arm to block Lily. "Let me check first." The deputy opened the door carefully, her hand still near her weapon. Kate was already out of her car, rushing toward the house. When she saw the police officer in the doorway, she froze for a moment, then continued forward, more slowly. "I'm Kate Adams," she called out. "Rose Miller is my mother and Lily Adams is my daughter." Deputy Martinez nodded and lowered her arm, allowing Lily to run past her and into her mother's arms. Kate caught her daughter in a fierce hug, tears streaming down her face. "Lily, are you okay? I was so worried," Kate said, holding her daughter tightly. "I'm fine, Mom," Lily assured her, her own eyes filling with tears. "Grandma protected me and the police came really fast." Rose joined them on the porch, and Kate pulled her mother into the embrace. The 3 generations of women stood together, in the rain for a long moment, united by their relief and love for each other. Deputy Martinez allowed them their reunion, but then gently ushered them back inside. Once they were seated in the living room, Kate wiped her tears and took a deep breath. "What happened?" she asked. "Mom, you said someone tried to break in?" Rose and Lily took turns explaining the events of the night, with Deputy Martinez adding details about the investigation. When they mentioned Frank Daniels and the blue car, Kate sat up straighter. "I saw a blue sedan parked on the side of the road about a mile from here," she said urgently. "It was empty, but it looked like it had been there for a while." Deputy Martinez immediately radioed this information to her partner, providing the approximate location of the car. "This could be important," she told them. "If it's Daniel's car, he might still be in the area on foot." The radio crackled with a response. The deputy's partner would check out the car and call for backup if needed. "I got a strange text message tonight," Kate said, pulling out her phone to show the deputy. It said, "Your family is being watched." I thought it was just spam, so I deleted it. Deputy Martinez frowned. "Do you remember the number it came from?" Kate shook her head. "No, it was just listed as an unknown number. We can probably get that information from your phone provider if needed," the deputy said. "It might have been Daniels trying to scare you." Rose made more coffee while they waited for news about the blue car. Lily had fallen asleep on the couch, exhausted from the stress and late hour. Kate sat beside her, gently stroking her daughter's hair. "I can't believe this happened," Kate said quietly to her mother. "When Lily called me, and I heard the fear in her voice, I've never been so scared in my life." "I know," Rose said, sitting in her armchair across from them. "I'm so sorry you had to go through that, and I'm sorry I put Lily in danger." If I had known Frank was back in town, I never would have agreed to have her visit this weekend. This isn't your fault, Mom, Kate assured her. You couldn't have known. The radio on Deputy Martinez's belt crackled again. She stepped into the kitchen to answer it, her voice low as she spoke with her partner. When she returned to the living room, her expression was serious. They found the car, she said. It's registered to Frank Daniels. There were some concerning items inside. Binoculars, a notebook with details about Mrs. Miller's daily routine, and photos of the house. It appears he's been watching the property for some time. Oh my God, Kate whispered, her arms tightening protectively around her sleeping daughter. Where is he now? Rose asked, her voice trembling slightly. They haven't located him yet, Deputy Martinez admitted. But we have more officers on the way and they're setting up a perimeter around the area. He won't get far on foot. Just then, the lights in the house flickered and went out, leaving them in darkness. Rose gasped, and Kate pulled Lily closer, to her on the couch. Deputy Martinez immediately turned on her flashlight. It's probably just the storm affecting the power lines, she said calmly. But I'll check the breaker box to be sure. Where is it, Mrs. Miller? In the basement, Rose replied. The door is off the kitchen. Stay here, the deputy instructed, moving toward the kitchen with her flashlight. In the darkness of the living room, Kate and Rose sat quietly, listening, to the rain hitting the windows and the wind rattling the shutters. Lily stirred in her sleep but didn't wake. A few minutes passed and Deputy Martinez didn't return. Rose and Kate exchanged worried glances. It shouldn't take this long to check the breaker box, Rose whispered. It's right at the bottom of the basement stairs. Kate gently moved Lily so she could stand up. I'm going to see what's keeping her. Be careful, Rose warned, taking Kate's place beside Lily on the couch. Kate moved cautiously toward the kitchen, using her phone's flashlight to guide her way. The beam of light wasn't very strong, but it was enough to help her avoid bumping into furniture. The kitchen was empty. The door to the basement stood open, a rectangle of complete darkness. Kate shone her light down the stairs but couldn't see anything beyond the first few steps. Deputy Martinez? She called softly. Are you down there? There was no answer. Kate hesitated, unsure what to do. Should she go down to check? Or should she go back to the living room and wait? Before she could decide, she heard a sound behind her, a floorboard creaking. Kate whirled around, her phone's light cutting, through the darkness, and found herself face to face with a man she had never seen before. He was tall and thin, with dark, wet hair plastered to his head from the rain. His eyes were wild, and in his hand, he held Deputy Martinez's gun. Hello? Kate, the man said, his voice surprisingly calm. I've been waiting a long time to meet Rose's daughter. Kate's blood ran cold. She knew without being told that this was Frank Daniels. And somehow he had gotten past the police and into the house. Where was Deputy Martinez? What had he done to her? My mother and daughter are expecting me back in the living room, Kate said, trying to keep her voice steady. The other police officer will be checking on his partner any minute now. Frank smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. No, he won't. He's busy searching for me a mile down the road. And we both know Deputy Martinez isn't coming back up those stairs anytime soon. Kate felt a wave of nausea at his words. What had he done to the deputy? She needed to warn her mother to protect Lily, but with Frank blocking her way back to the living room and holding a gun, she didn't know how. What do you want? Kate asked, playing for time, hoping her mother would realize something was wrong. When she didn't return, Frank's smile widened. I want your mother to know how it feels to lose everything, he said, just like I did. Kate's mind raced as she faced Frank Daniels in the dark kitchen. She needed to keep him talking, to buy time, to find a way to protect her family. Losing your job wasn't my mother's fault, Kate said, taking a small step backward. She was just trying to protect herself. Frank's eyes flashed with anger. She ruined my life. After she reported me, my boss found out and fired me. My wife left me. I lost my house. All because your mother couldn't mind her own business. Kate took another small step back, moving closer to the counter where she knew her mother kept a block of kitchen knives. "I'm sorry that happened to you," she said, trying to sound sincere. "But breaking into her house and threatening her family won't solve anything. It will make her suffer like I did," Frank said, his voice cold. "Now let's go join your mother and daughter in the living room." In the living room, Rose was growing worried. Kate had been gone too long, and Deputy Martinez hadn't returned either. Something was wrong. She gently shook Lily awake. "Sweetheart, wake up," she whispered. Lily blinked sleepily. "What's wrong, Grandma?" "I need you to be very quiet," Rose said, keeping her voice low. "Your mom went to check on Deputy Martinez, but she hasn't come back. I'm worried something might be wrong." Lily was instantly alert, the memory of hiding in the closet still fresh in her mind. "Do you think the bad man came back?" "I don't know," Rose admitted. "But I want you to hide again just to be safe." Rose led Lily to the small closet under the stairs, a space hardly bigger than a cupboard where she stored extra blankets and winter coats. "Stay here until I come get you," she instructed. "If you hear anything scary or if no one comes for you in an hour, use my phone to call 911 again." She handed Lily her cell phone, which she had kept in her pocket since the first incident. Lily nodded, her eyes wide with fear but also determination. She was scared, but she would be brave for her grandmother and mother. Once Lily was hidden, Rose moved quietly toward the kitchen. She picked up a heavy brass candlestick from the hall table as she went, holding it like a weapon. As she approached the kitchen doorway, she heard voices, Kate's and a man's. She pressed herself against the wall, listening. "Move," the man was saying. "We're going to the living room now." Rose realized with horror that Frank must have gotten past the police and into her house, and now he had Kate. Where was Deputy Martinez? Rose didn't have time to wonder. She needed to act fast. In the kitchen, Kate was still trying to stall for time. "My daughter is asleep on the couch," she said. "Please don't wake her. She's already been through so much tonight." Frank laughed, a harsh sound with no humor in. "How touching. But I'm afraid your little family reunion is just beginning. Move." He gestured with the gun, pointing it toward the living room. Kate had no choice but to obey. As she turned to walk through the doorway, she saw a movement in the darkness of the hallway, a shadow shifting slightly. Her mother was there, hiding just out of sight. Kate needed to warn her mother without alerting Frank. As she walked, she deliberately raised her voice. "My daughter is a sound sleeper. She probably hasn't even noticed we're gone. She's still on the couch where I left her." She hoped her mother would understand. Lily was on the couch, an easy target if Frank entered the living room. Rose needed to get to her first, but Rose had already hidden Lily in the closet under the stairs. She understood from Kate's words that Frank didn't know this, that he expected to find the child asleep on the couch. This gave them an advantage. Frank thought he knew where everyone was, but he was wrong. As Kate and Frank entered the hallway, Rose pressed herself into a small alcove hidden in the shadows. She gripped the brass candlestick tightly, waiting for the right moment. Frank followed Kate closely, the gun pointed at her back. He was so focused on Kate that he didn't notice Rose hiding in the darkness. As they passed her hiding spot, Rose stepped out and swung the candlestick with all her strength, hitting Frank's arm. Frank cried out in pain and surprise. The gun dropped from his hand, clattering to the floor. Kate immediately dove for it, but Frank recovered quickly and kicked it away, sending it sliding across the wooden floor. "Run, Kate!" Rose shouted, raising the candlestick to strike again. But Frank was faster. He grabbed Rose by the throat and slammed her against the wall. The candlestick fell from her hand as she clawed at his fingers, struggling to breathe. "Mom!" Kate cried, rushing to help her mother. Frank backhanded her across the face, sending her stumbling backward. "I've waited 2 years for this," he snarled at Rose. 2 years of planning how to make you pay." Kate wiped blood from her lip where Frank had hit her. She looked around desperately for a weapon, anything to help her mother. The gun had disappeared into the darkness of the hallway. Suddenly, the front door burst open and flashlight beams cut through the darkness. "Police, freeze!" a voice commanded. Frank spun around, still holding Rose by the throat. "Stay back or I'll kill her," he shouted. "Let her go, Daniels," the officer said calmly. "There's nowhere to run. We have the house surrounded." It was Deputy Martinez's partner, Officer Reed. He stood in the doorway, his gun pointed at Frank. Behind him, more officers were visible, their flashlights scanning the scene. Frank's grip on Rose tightened. "Stay back," he repeated. Rose was gasping for air, her face turning red as Frank's fingers pressed into her throat. Kate watched in horror, feeling helpless. Then she remembered. The gun. It had to be somewhere in the hallway. While Frank was distracted by the police, Kate dropped to her hands and knees and began feeling around in the darkness. Her fingers touched something cold and metal. The gun. She picked it up, her hand shaking. "Frank," she said, rising to her feet. "Let my mother go." Frank turned to see Kate pointing Deputy Martinez's gun at him. He laughed. "You won't shoot me," he said. "You don't have the guts." "I don't want to," Kate admitted, the gun steady in her hands. "But I will if I have to. Let her go, now." For a long moment, no one moved. Rose was still struggling weakly in Frank's grip. The police officers had their weapons trained on Frank but couldn't risk a shot while he was holding Rose. Everything hung in balance. Then, from the closet under the stairs, came a small voice. "Grandma? Mom?" It was Lily, unable to stay hidden any longer after hearing the commotion. Frank's head turned toward the sound, his grip on Rose loosening slightly in his surprise. It was all the distraction they needed. Rose brought her knee up hard, striking Frank in a vulnerable spot. He doubled over in pain, releasing her. At the same moment, Officer Reed rushed forward, tackling Frank to the ground before he could recover. "Mom!" Kate lowered the gun and ran to her mother, who was leaning against the wall, coughing and rubbing her throat. "I'm okay," Rose managed to say, her voice hoarse. "Where's Lily?" "Here, Grandma." Lily emerged from the closet, tears streaming down her face. She ran to her mother and grandmother, and the three of them hugged each other tightly as the police handcuffed Frank and read him his rights. The lights suddenly came back on, making everyone blink in the sudden brightness. More officers entered, the house including Deputy Martinez, who was holding an ice pack to the back of her head. "He was waiting for me in the basement," she explained, looking both embarrassed and angry. "Hit me from behind when I went to check the breaker box. I woke up tied to the furnace pipe. Managed to get free when I heard all the commotion up here." Officer Reed helped Frank to his feet. "Frank Daniels, you're under arrest for breaking and entering, assault on a police officer, assault with a deadly weapon, and attempted murder." As they led Frank away, he turned to glare at Rose one last time. "This isn't over," he spat. "Yes, it is," Officer Reed said firmly, pushing him toward the door. "You'll be in prison for a very long time." After Frank was taken away in a police car, paramedics checked Rose's throat and the bump on Deputy Martinez's head. Kate had a small cut on her lip, but was otherwise unharmed. Lily was physically fine but still shaken by the night's events. The family sat together in the living room as officers moved around the house, taking photographs and collecting evidence. Deputy Martinez sat with them, her notebook open. "I'd like to get your statements while everything is still fresh," she said gently. "Then you can try to get some rest." One by one, they told their stories. Rose explaining about Frank's obsession, Kate describing her confrontation in the kitchen, and Lily telling how she had hidden in the closet under the stairs. "You were all very brave," Deputy Martinez said, when they had finished. "Especially you, Lily. Most adults wouldn't have stayed as calm as you did tonight." Lily leaned against her mother, suddenly tired now that the danger was past. "I was really scared," she admitted. "But I remembered what Mom always says. Being brave doesn't mean you're not afraid. It means doing what you need to do even when you are afraid." As the sky outside began to lighten with the first hint of dawn, the police finally left, promising to check on them later that day. Deputy Martinez was the last to go, pausing at the door. "Try to get some rest," she said. "And don't worry about Frank Daniels. He won't be able to hurt any of you again." After she left, The 3 generations of women sat together on the couch, too exhausted to move but too keyed up to sleep. "I think," Rose said finally, her voice still rough from Frank's attack, "that it might be time for me to consider moving closer to you two in the city." Kate S.E.